today, guys, we're going to be talking about display basics. And essentially what we're going to be doing is looking over my collection. As you can see right now, this is my Boom Boonger collection. So let me just move the camera just slightly so you guys can see. There are several different ways that you can display your collection. There's the basics. There's the standard, I guess you can call it military stance, where your figures are standing in a standard A stance and they're in rows. Usually you don't use any risers or anything like that. They're just straight up and down. And that's usually what a lot of people do. Very basic. It's not bad to start out. You can do this without using risers, especially if you do, like, for example, larger figures in the back and then medium size in the middle and then smaller figures in the front, and you stagger them a little bit so then you can still view them. Then there are using risers. Like, for example, this is what I did right here. So as you can see right here, I have the Boom Boonger. So this is it's in a combined mode, and I have it like in a certain combined mode. I got the driver, and then I've got all of the cars. And unfortunately, it fell one time, and I don't know where this piece went. So unfortunately, the mechanics doesn't work. But I do have the blue version, so that's, in case anybody in the comments is wondering why that's sticking out, that's the reason why that's sticking out. And as you can see here, I have this. Now these, you can get these on Amazon. They are, I think they're called cake decorating trays. They come in packs of 3, or is the smallest you can get them in. I think they come in packs of 5 and 10 or whatever. They work great. They're made of acrylic plastic, and there's multiple different levels. There's ones with 2 tier, 3 tier. This is a 5 tier, so you get 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry, 4 tier. 1, 2, 3, 4 tier. And it basically allows me to display all the cars, so that way when you look at the display, you can see all the cars. So that which makes it very, very cool. Now, this particular bookcase, I actually got this bookcase at Target, so that is why it's a little shorter than a normal bookcase. And as a result of that, you can see the case. So this is a standard display using a acrylic riser. So that's something that I think is very cool. It does make the cars very easy to see. It does have a little bit of storage back here, like for example, the Boom Boom Champion car. So that is one display, and now we're going to move on to another display. So this display is one of my Sentai displays, and it's very an interesting display because, as you can see, I'm not using any risers, and this is a typical display. This is what I was talking about earlier before, where you have larger ones in the back, smaller ones in the front, and they're kind of staggered. Now, you can still see most of these guys in the front, and honestly, I think it might even look better if I put him over here, because then put him in the kind of the middle. But because he doesn't really, so kind of put him off to the side like that. So kind of give you guys a general look at the display. And this, again, this is a very basic display. Now, I don't have the best display on the planet, but that's essentially one version of the display that you can do. This definitely works for Sentai mechs. One of the things that I do want to do eventually is build dioramas, which would then maybe raise these guys up a little bit to kind of get rid of some of this space. And also, I'm using puck lighting. It's actually the worst kind of lighting to use. I don't think it's going to cause any yellowing or anything like that. But essentially, you can see I turned it off right there. You can see it is very dark back there, so you can't really see the figures all that well, at least on camera. But I turned it back on, and this is a very basic one, so it does have strobe lights, flashes, and then like a smooth transition. Then you're just standard white. I usually just use a standard white because it doesn't use as much battery power as the other ones. Ironically, you would think the white, being the brightest, would use the most energy, but it doesn't. These all use 3 AAA batteries. It's very expensive. I don't recommend it, but that's the route that I ended up going, and once I went down that route, it ended up being a huge expensive problem. But for now, that's just what I got. My next display that I would like to show you guys, this is my Transformers the movie villains kind of shelf. Now, when you're getting into Transformers, and especially when you get into Masterpiece, it can become extremely difficult sometimes to display figures. And it becomes difficult because, for example, of, you know, they're very big. You can see these are twice the size of most Sentai mechs, and even they're about the height. He's a little taller. He doesn't actually fit in here, but they can be very, very tall, and they can also be very, very wide. So it becomes very difficult to display these. Now, in this particular display, I have, and if you guys are interested, this is the Fans Toys. This is the 2.0. This is also Fans Toys, and this is actually X-Trans bot. So right now it's only 3 bots. And so this is kind of like what I call dynamic posing. Now, what dynamic posing means is they're not in their standard A stance. They're not just up and down, lined up in a row. You give them some light, give them some character. And again, on this particular one, I would like to build a diorama with this. With this one, the diorama would be very limited. I'd probably have some rocks back here or something like that, or depending on like maybe the space scene. I would most definitely would rather have more like vertical space on this just to be able to do more with the diorama. But with this particular setup, it's okay that I don't have the vertical space, and actually makes it kind of clears up where you use all the vertical space up. And you can see I have Galvatron in the middle here, and he's kind of like in a almost an A stance, but more of like a staggered stance where he's got his hand up, he's pointing forward. You got the waist. I'm using a lot of the articulation that it can do. You can do a lot of articulation with his hand because of the way it's designed, but for this kind of pose, it does work. And then of course you can see I have Cyclonus in the background here, and again, he's a little taller than the vertical space allows me to, so he is kind of more of a staggered stance. His hands are up like he's ready for battle. And then we have Scourge back here. He's not articulated as best as I would want him to be articulated, but unfortunately for my copy, some of the legs are not the best, and so you can kind of see that he's kind of in the back here. And actually, before I even started recording, he was actually leaning back, so he actually fell backwards, and that's even with the hill spurts. So he's a little back heavy, but that's because of the wings. It's not a terrible figure, but I do like it. It's painted really well. But this again is a very simple display of displaying your bots in a row and everything like that. So let's go ahead on and move on to another more dynamic display. All right, this is my mass display. Now these are all from the loyal subjects. These are not ramen toys. So basically this one's very difficult, but again, you can see different ways you can display it. Now there's a lot of vertical space here. You can see the light's a little dimmer than the other ones. That's because this light's actually dying. This one is a very dynamic kind of like pose in terms of how I pose it. Now you can see right here, I actually have him on a little stand so that I have him like he's flying. And then I got the same thing over here. I have a little riser. These are also, you can buy those off of Amazon. And there's like little riser packs that come in packs of 5 of different sizes. And so I have him propped up, whereas other than just being flat on the surface here, and then it would just look kind of stupid. Same thing with a car. I actually wouldn't be able to have the car here with this part as well. Now I would like to have him in helicopter mode and maybe have him like right here, but I haven't found a good stand that I could do that with. Plus, I wouldn't be able to use this smoke effect. So I do like the smoke effect. So he's kind of like this. But anyways, this is another use of using what you've got. Using risers, using stands to elevate the figures and make them look more dynamic, so that way you have a better display. And again, this is something that I really encourage you guys to try to do. If you don't have the money or the space or even the talent, and I don't really necessarily say it's all about talent, about building dioramas, or money, because it can get expensive depending on what you're trying to do. This is something you can definitely do versus them just being on the shelf, just like up and down. And you can also see, like, you know, example, I've got like the Rhino, I've got like, you know, features of it used, you know, so it's not just on the shelf. So it's actually, it's posed, it looks cool. I mean, sure, I would like to have like a little city kind of thing going on here, like one with all the good guys, and then another shelf with all the bad guys, you know, and then maybe one that's like a battle, but that's kind of like, that's a future project. I don't have the space to do that, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys, these are different ways you can display your figures. And again, this is also different. Like I saw Sentai Mechs, we had Transformers, and now we have Mass. So these are 3 completely different franchises. and you can see how you can display them in different ways to get the most effect out of what you're trying to do. All right, the last one I'm going to show you guys today is a very unique one. And I'm going to, this is my Legends battle display. And you're going to notice something very unique about this. And it looks, at first glance, it does look very chaotic. And for those of you wondering, these are almost all New Age. The only things that are not New Age is obviously the Devastator. That's actually the Studio Series Devastator. I was watching a podcast. This was probably several months ago. And someone mentioned that, hey, you know, that Studio Series Devastator is not great, but it would look really good in a Legends display. And so I thought about it, and I was like, well, you know what? It's a little bigger. It's a little too big. A little too tall. But the perspective. It gives the perspective. And that's what I really like. Now, I don't have every... So... And also, too, the Omega Supreme is also not New Age. It is also... I'd say it's another company that they were selling it. And I was like, oh, it's on sale. I'll buy it. And again... I looked up the scaling for Metroplex, or it's not Metroplex, Omega Supreme and Devastator. And again, G1 continuity, sometimes he's massive, sometimes he's not. But I think for my display, I think it works really well. Now it is very chaotic. You see you have Rumble on the ground over there. We've got Megatron kind of, directing the battle. We got Shockwave in the background. We got the Insecticons kind of spread out. My favorite one, part of the scene, and let me just bring it in as close as I can get it here, is right there. I have Jazz, and you can see I have Ravage right on top of him, and he's kind of peeked up. Now I used these Energon cubes that came with a bunch of these guys. I think it came with either Soundwave or Megatron, or I can't remember which one, or I think it might have come with the Insecticons. But like I propped that up there so it looks like he's jumping up. And then you have Ravage on top. So that's a really cool, I think that's a really cool way to display it. Instead of just having these, again, lined up straight up and down. You've got like Prime and Bumblebee kind of like, oh my God, they're pointing up Devastator. And then as you progress over here, you've got Sunstreaker, and you've got Gears, and this guy looks like he fell down on me. Right over here in the corner, you guys can't see him, I have Starscream trying to flank all the Autobots, and then we've got the other Gears. I can't remember which one this one is. It's because there's so many of them, they're just repaints. He's on the ground. He actually didn't fall over. As purpose. It's supposed to be like, oh, he just had a fight with the Insecticon. The Insecticon defeated him, and now he's moving on to more of the Autobots, and you can see they're all being flanked because they don't see him. We have Swoop. Now this is a recolored Swoop that I actually got at a local comic book store. I don't have any other Dinobots as of yet. Honestly, this display is kind of full. This is something that I would really like to do a display with, like a diorama with, where I could like raise it up and have different levels and have everybody fighting, like maybe underground, maybe have like in the background a painted of like, maybe the Ark in the background. There's lots of things I could do with this. So this is very different than what I showed you previously. And again, I could use more risers in this maybe to prop some people up. But, like at certain angles, you can't really see Ravage over here because Megatron blocks him. And he's such a tiny little bot too. But as you can see, you can get very creative with your displays versus just having them just there on the shelf. And I want to say something, because a lot of people will go out there and say that, oh, your shelf is trash, do better. There's nothing wrong in displaying them that way. If that's how you like it, and you can like see your figures and stuff like that, then by all means, do that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I wanted to do more collective focused stuff and like how to display. This is just the basics. Maybe in a later episode, I'll do more advanced posing or more advanced displaying. If you guys enjoy this kind of content, like specifically like this kind, let me know in the comments down below. I'll definitely try to rotate more of these into my weekly schedule. As always, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Check out this video right up in the corner. And as always, until next time.